This is Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions with Alastair Lynch, Tom Rockliff and Dylan Leach.
Can someone get some Zinger boxes, blue Powerades and a Barocca down to the Magpies and Lions ASAP? It appears the premiership and even runners-up hangovers are a thing so far in AFL season 2024. Both grand finalists 0-2 after 2 games for the first time in history. And what about the state of the ladder? The GWS Giants, Sydney and the Suns take up the first 3 spots. Surely execs at AFL HQ are going full MAGA and demanding to stop the count already. I said last week that Carlton is the new Collingwood. I was right. The Blues passed 6 wins by under a kick. Surely this bubble bursts, but thank goodness they've got the bye. After 2 weeks, well-deserved rest there, Carlton. Bad kicking is bad football. Certain clubs, Hawthorn, Port, St Kilda, Geelong, could do with some good old-fashioned goal-kicking practice at training, but we all know that the phys edders won't be having any of that. It's not like scoring is the most vital skill in the game or anything. And while the state we currently live in disgraced themselves yesterday with the responsibility of hosting the biggest sporting event in the world, opting for the wish.com option, it was a day of hope for my co-host's home state, Tasmania, as we were introduced to the myrtle green, primrose yellow and rose red of the Devils. We'll have Devil Talk later in the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of AFL Unpopular Opinions here on Neds. My name is Dylan Leach. Round 1 done and dusted. It felt like the footy season actually did start last weekend. Joining me as always, well, Freo's Caleb Sarong had 46 disposals in the Dockers win over the Lions on the weekend, but this man's like, whatever. I had 48 disposals in round 11, 2016, playing for the Lions against Carlton at Etihad Stadium for 204 Supercoach points. It's Tom Rockliff.
Yes, good morning, Dylan. Good morning. This is, they were pretty impressive in the end. Fremantle, but Sarong was outstanding as well. They got hold of the Lions.
Does ball magnets recognise game?
Yeah, he's
recognised game.
He can play. He's tough inside midfielder. His work rate to get back in the contest is second to none almost in the competition. There's not many. Gold Coast have got a few that do it really well as well, but he's right up there.
We're going to get a 50 disposal match this year?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. I think teams have moved away from those heavy tags. I think someone will get right off the chain and have the 50, and we've got enough ball magnets in the competition to be able to do that.
Oh, exciting times. And born in Burnie, raised in Wynyard, a superstar for the Hobart Football Club under coach Peter Hudson. He donned the map 4 times in State of Origin, including their famous 32-point win over Victoria at North Hobart Oval in 1990. An inductee, a legend, an icon of the Tasmanian Hall of Fame, has a medal named after him in the State League, if you don't mind, and he's a Devils power broker. He also has some connection with the Brisbane Lions and Fitzroy. It's our own Alastair Lynch.
Dylan, Rocky, yes, thanks for reading out the script that I just gave you there.
Yeah, so that was your bio there you sent in there. Thanks for that.
It's been a big 6 months. It's certainly been a big couple of days with the launch of the name and logos and colours and all that sort of stuff. So a special day for, I think, footy in general, certainly for Tasmanian football and the Tasmanian community to have such a groundswell of support.
Now, timestamp, we're recording this on a Tuesday morning. What is the current tally of Tassie Devils members?
Well, just checking, and I was looking for an update, but let's go with, when's that, 15 minutes ago.
So that's about 9:30 Queensland time on a Tuesday morning, 10:30 Melbourne time.
75,000.
75,000 members.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
And
it is.
You're a member.
I'm a proud Tassie member. That's another club.
Rocky, come on.
I don't know how the Tigers would feel about that. What? You can't be a turncoat.
How would the Tigers
it's not about
feel with that? They had bloody rickshaw, Jack Rewalds.
It's supporting...
They're stealing all our people.
It's supporting football in the country. And I think even your clubs, they don't want to see a under-resourced Tasmanian football club. We need to be competitive. Now, speaking of Richmond and how we're just pilfering the Tigers.
Yeah, what's going on there?
You know what, and you would have loved this. Last week, and part of my role on the board, in the football space, I want to make sure that...
Brendan Gale.
You're getting Brendan Gale, right?
Oh, that's another... We'll get down.
Exclusive.
Get to that shortly. But we want to engage the community and the past players and all that sort of stuff. In the last week, just having chats with Royce Hart and Ian Stewart, a couple of greats of the Richmond Football Club, and they're passion for what we're doing and the opportunity that lies ahead. And hearing the stories is incredible about their journeys. It's been an absolute privilege to chat to those people.
We'll have a dedicated Tassie segment in the show today, so we will get right into the Devils.
Beautiful.
We'll get the devil into detail, as it were.
Oh, nice.
Huh?
Right.
You like that?
Yeah, no. You worked
You
on
like that?
for 6
Lots of
months.
devil puns. Well, you know, you did tell us, you refused to tell us 2 weeks ago that the nickname was going to be Devils, so we were shocked when that was revealed yesterday. But no, we will talk about that comprehensively on the program, so stay tuned for that. And of course, Ryan will be in with Rocky to go over another week of the Snapshot heading into, about to say round 3. No, it's round 2. It's still confusing.
Week 3.
Week 3. Week 3 of the season.
Another multi went down, guys.
That's all right.
Oh, really?
That's all
2
right.
from 4, but
you'll get there.
We'll discuss that later.
Exactly. Let's get into some unpopular opinions as the namesake of this show. Rock, what's your take from the weekend?
Well, from the weekend, I don't think it's going to be all that unpopular with everyone out there, but there shouldn't be any night games in Queensland footy until after about round 6, 7 or 8, because it's just, even the first quarter on the weekend, Gold Coast Suns versus the Crows, before the rain came, some of the skill level was atrocious, and I know it's round 1, but it was slippery and it's just not a good quality of football. Then the rain came and it was one of the hardest games I've had to call in my brief commentating career. Special comments. It was half time. It was like, can we just wrap this up?
Well, actually, and it's probably consistent with you did debut for KO during the practice match series, but that one even there out at Springfield. And explain to the listeners, it's not dew, as some people talk about dew at this time of year, that it's non-existent. It's just purely sweat.
Sweat. So you've seen a couple of Crows players with sweatbands on, etc. like that, but you can't get dry. It just becomes soapy, and we know the way the Sharon's made, there's not the grip that the NRL ball has on it. It's pure leather, and that's great part of our game, but it becomes really slippery, and then people missing handballs, missing their boots. It was just incredible. The lack of skill level there was really poor. So I think we should hold off on the night games in Queensland until it gets closer to winter.
What, May, June is when we start
I think so.
playing the night.
End of May.
What is the optimum time? Because knowing Queensland weather, so twilight,
May.
because you can't be
May.
maybe so.
But twilight time zone. You don't want to play too early because it's still too hot. But if you play at that 3-4 o'clock time, the sun goes down early in Queensland. It's dark by 6:30. I think the twilight, you get a bit of crossover, and is perfect conditions.
Better comfort for spectators.
And spectators love it in Queensland to do the afternoon, and then they can go and have dinner somewhere at 7 o'clock or something like that.
Certain Queensland venues for day games with the lack of shade is pretty bad. But apparently those venues are fine to not be renovated. But anyway, we'll digress.
The red-headed sitting in the stands on a Sunday afternoon at the
shade.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock out in the sun. Real sort of pissed off
Extra
style.
sunscreen and a Legionnaires hat for me when I go to the afternoon games. Lynchy, your take from round 1.
Well, I think we're on a similar topic, Dylan. Goal reviews, but I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah.
But in-play reviews. Now, we saw on the weekend Charlie Curnow's supposed goal that's almost, well, it wasn't a goal, but it looked like it hit his foot. So they slaughtered that part. But the fact that it was paid holding the ball is an in-game decision. So that's not what the goal review is about. This is if the umpire felt it was holding the ball, call holding the ball, or you call play on. We're not going to review it. Now, this was a long review because they had to look. It was hard to tell whether it hit his foot or not. I think it did. But they didn't have the camera technology there to actually see it. And it's in play. Play on. I mean, it was just I reckon we've got to get away from that. We can't have those decisions because, Rocky, your point was you saw something in Port Adelaide game where there was a score, which was?
The West Coast player was pretty much in the first row of the seats. It was that far out of bounds. I think everyone that's seen it would acknowledge that. And then it goes forward, they kick a goal, gets chipped over. Like half the players stopped because it was that far out.
So with the defence of, at least we got the right decision, we can go back to that then.
Yeah, well, if you're going to call them for holding the ball, go back to that. If that's in a grand final and it's that far out and then the team kicks a goal and they win.
So
that's happened. Wayne Harms would.
But we're saying
case in point.
We're saying we want to get the decisions right, but
but we can't. So our game, and I know the over the line. If it's out of bounds, it tends to be out of bounds. But our game is up to so much interpretation.
Yes,
we cannot possibly be reviewing decisions in play, and that decision, no matter how the AFL talk about it, was in play, and so you can't have that. It was either a goal or a point. That's it.
And the other thing with our game is it's going too long now. Like time-wise, broadcast-wise, people are switching off because it just goes too long. Like, we love the game. I don't think the quarters should be shortened. But when you get a review that goes for 3 or 4 minutes, and that's an in-play one, you're just adding time that shouldn't be there.
So I get the score review. I get that because we want the right decision in those because it can make a difference. But again, let's not wait for the scoreboard to flash up goal behind or whatever, play on or whatever it is. Let's make decisions. Just go straight away.
And the 50-metre one away, it's touched. Are you happy for that to be reviewed as well?
See, that's the thing. That's where I reckon when we talk, and some of the vernacular now is about goal line technology. We need that. Something 50 metres away. Are we going to go down that path? No, we've been in those situations in packs when you've touched the ball and someone else has marked it. Now, they're not going to review that, but you've touched it, but you wouldn't even argue.
Nah.
But that's where, if it's touched off the boot 50 metres away and you're looking at just fingers going up, so are we going down that path? It's just getting further and further out with that decision with Curnow on the weekend.
Well, can we just accept that umpire's going to make mistakes and it's part of the game? Can we stop? Like, obviously, we don't want to. We want to prevent howlers, but can we just accept that there's going to be the odd mistake made, and it's okay if the umpire makes a mistake?
The thing is, if an umpire makes a mistake, then they find themselves out of the lineup. Like the goal umpire that made the poor decision in the Crows game. His first game back.
Protection.
Well, his first game back was on the weekend, but it's the same as players. If players continue to make mistakes, they find themselves out of the team. So if umpires are going to make mistakes, they're human.
Well, speaking of umpires, I think it's time we put out our flags. This is my umpire, because we've seen the death of linesmen at Grand Slams in tennis. They're not there anymore. I think it appears the goal umpire in AFL is dead. Dead. Ever since Ben Keys was denied that obvious goal last year, which would have seen the Crows qualify for finals, only to lose by a point by the Swans, the goal umpire's confidence has been shot. They have got none. And if you want proof of the death of the goal umpire, Sunday's game between Melbourne and the Bulldogs is all the proof you need that one of the more iconic and unique officials in world sport, the goal umpires, you speak to anyone overseas, they're fascinated by the goal umpires. They're dead. They're dead. Did you see Jack Billings? There's an example. Dribbling kick from the pocket, clearly touched that even blind Freddie, who would have been able to tell through sense of hearing and smell, or Jake Lever getting a hand on Cody Waitman's shot, or Waitman's set shot marked by Max Gawn, the goal umpire felt the need to have a score review, even though it was bleeding obvious. He could easily make the decision. It's wasting time. It's delaying the game. Now, unless the goal umpire has no confidence, or I've got a conspiracy here. Maybe, you know how like when you do Triple M footy and you've got to say things like Bunnings Warehouse scoreboard or Chemist Warehouse replay screen a certain amount of times per quarter. Maybe Crypto.com, who sponsor the ARC, have a certain requirement for goal reviews.
Or it does seem to pop up on the scoreboard before they go to the clarification.
Maybe bang for buck.
Maybe Crypto.com. And what about Riley Sanders' set shot from 40-odd metres that didn't cross the behind line, punched back into play, and should have just been a simple play on? No, because the umpires and the goal umpires don't have any confidence. They stopped play for a bloody review. So, look, I reckon this season there's going to be more score reviews than David and Margaret ever made in their career. There's going to be more reviews than that. Now, I give it 5 years until all scoring decisions are now going to be judged by technology at AFL. No, goal umpires will be there.
You've seen the technology we're using at the moment?
Yeah, well, that hasn't stopped them in the past.
You'd be better off having an iPhone in the crowd.
Goal umpires will be there for display purposes only. They'll be there and in the meantime, if the goal umpires still want to keep a job, make a bloody decision without needing to go to the ARC and bloody stick with it. We all make mistakes. Old mate from Adelaide learned his lesson. He's out of witness protection now and back on the job. It was just such a waste of time. What is the point?
It's not. The point is, I would say in defence of the goal umpires, they'd be under strict instructions.
Oh, now
if
they would be.
If you're not 110% confident, so if there's a chance, we're reviewing it. There was a couple on the weekend where diving players, I think it was Alex Pearce in Perth, he's dived and punched the ball through. It was a foot in the play. Everyone, and remember, the ball has got to cross the line entirely for it to be over the line. He's punched it through. The umpire was right there, perfect position, but he's done a review because I'm sure he's under instructions. So,
So you think we're going to see more reviews than what Shane Watson and Steve Smith go for?
Correct. It's going to be Shane Watson, Steve Smith, David Margaret.
It's
going to be more reviews than Yelp.com. We're just going to have a whole game, just reviews.
Oh,
hitting halfway up middle. No, we'll have a look at that.
Steve Smith and Shane Watson might even get a gig of playing footy now with the amount of reviews that they're...
So the technology has got to come up to speed. And
that hasn't stopped sports in the past.
Yeah, the technology needs to come up to speed. And I think, well, there is this chips going in the balls.
What's that going to accomplish, though?
Not sure.
Because you're still going to have to stop the game.
But they're trialling it at the moment. And I reckon there was one, and in all seriousness, being trialled in the Gold Coast game.
Right.
Out there looking at the umpires as they were bouncing the balls.
Oh,
and
they shouldn't bounce the balls at the Gold Coast.
Well, they're not going to bounce.
Well, just to clarify that too, they're dropping cricket wickets. So everyone that watches the Gold Coast games at where is it? People First Stadium these days.
People's Republic of Carrara.
They've taken out the wickets and dropped in just dead strips of grass, so it's really hard for them. But when they were bouncing one particular ball, you could hear the crack of a chip.
Right.
Yeah, and having a look at the ball, there was a dot on the ball.
No wonder the skill levels were so bad.
Well, I think it's minor. It's not a half a kilo on one side of the ball. But, yes, I reckon they were trialling the ball there, the chip in the ball on that occasion. But, yeah, a lot to do. A lot to do.
Just make a decision.
No, I think, invest.
Well, that's the thing. Get rid of goal umpires, so there frees up a lot of money.
Yeah, you go.
Where you go from
Goal umpires out of a job.
Poor buggers only get $4 anyway.
That's $4 to go to technology.
No, I think
that'll get them half a pie.
Keep investing.
While I've got you two here, can we talk about your former club, the Brisbane Lions? Because there will be people wanting to get your views on it. There's a bit of a familiar trend this season where they start games really well and then they obviously had that drop off in the second quarter against Fremantle and the third quarter drop off against Carlton. What's going on? Is it Kitty Coleman's injury? Is it the lack of Lachie Neale? Is it confident shot? Like what's going on?
That doesn't help having Coleman and Neale out of the side, but just they seem too offensive at the moment. Like they can score, as we saw the quarter and a half against Carlton. That first quarter and a half was as good as I've seen for a long time. The way they move the ball started well against Freo as well. But if you're getting a team like Freo, with respect, who played very well, they put 8 goals in a row on the club. So the defensive structures are gone out the door. Alarm bells, and you'd know from being in the midfield, alarm bells start going off. If you've conceded 2, 3 out the extreme the other way, you've got to lock it down. So, one, you've got to get the ball and take the speed out of the game. It looks like just at the moment Brisbane are too fast. They're just going a bit too fast and not getting set up behind the ball.
I tend to agree with Lynchy. I think their system's breaking down, particularly when momentum's against them. Yeah. AFL footy is built on momentum now. It's really hard to stop when a team has it, but your system needs to stand up in those moments. You need to be able to slow down. I think Brisbane have just got the mindset of let's go as fast as we can. And when it comes off, they're as good as anyone. And they kick big scores and fast scores. In the first 10 minutes of the game, they've put 4 on the board and you're like, Brisbane, how far? Same against Carlton. But when that momentum shifts, they haven't been able to execute their plan, whether that's through coaching-wise, getting the message down to the team to say, hey, look, we've conceded 2 or 3 here in a row. Let's just take the sting out of the game. Let's kick Mark for 5 minutes if we can, 2 or 3 minutes, take some sting out of the game and just progress the ball slowly. We're a good stoppage team. If it goes out of bounds, we can set up defensively, strongly, stoppage-wise well. We can take some uncontested marks, but they're just not doing that. They just want to play fast.
1 week at a time and all, but it certainly makes the Easter Thursday clash against the currently winless Collingwood, who are facing Kilda on Thursday night. We could potentially be having a grand final a meeting of last year's grand finals. There's no such thing as a grand final rematch. Collingwood still has the cup, no matter what the outcome. That's just a pet peeve of mine. We could have a potential meeting of last year's grand finalists with both teams winless.
Do either you two buy into the theory that they shouldn't be playing round zero, those two teams, because they're playing a grand final, so they're the last two teams to play? I don't buy into it because you've got 3 or 4 months, but they play the last game of the season and then they're playing pretty much the first weekend of March, which is the earliest we've started for a long time. So they've had the least amount of preparation. Do you two buy into that at all?
No.
They shouldn't be playing round zero because it should be called round one. We've established that.
And with the northern games, they've got to be playing. But no, I don't think it is. I seriously think that our pre-season is going to get shorter. Our trial matches are going to be eliminated, maybe one game sim against your local club, and we're going to go straight into it. So, I think, it's all relative, I suppose, if someone's having a lot more preparation than you, but I don't think that's a thing.
I think we'll get to a point where everyone comes back in January. It doesn't matter if you don't play finals, to make it as even as you can, everyone comes back and the players will... they've almost got it there now anyway. Mm-hmm. They'll push for it, and I think you'll come back on, say, the 2nd of January and have your build in. I agree with Lynchy.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll go more that way. And rest assured, in the next year or two, there's going to be another game. So the season's going to go a little bit longer again. Yeah. Thus, shorter pre-season. That'll be part of the negotiations with the players' associations. If we cut pre-seasons, but make it for everyone, and cut back on trial games, can we jump into it? So that's the way it's going.
Interesting.
Guaranteed.
Now, we should mention Collingwood as well. Premiership hangover. Did the Sydney Swans just work out the recipe to outplay them, because they looked mighty impressive on Friday night?
Let's not forget Sydney are really good.
Yeah.
And they had a bit of a down year last year, but some of their players, so last year Warner had a bit of a drop-off for a kid that was on the rise, and Goulden kept going. But Warner's come back, and they reckon he's had a huge pre-season, so he looks like he's back to that trajectory to be a really good player. Yep. Isaac Heaney, who has been...
Jeez, he's looking good.
So Isaac Heaney, and granted, Buddy used to draw the ball, but over the last handful of years, the only one that matched Buddy Franklin in that forward 50 was Isaac Heaney. He's the person that leads into space, Rocky, coming out of the middle of the ground. There's some people you just can't see, and some people that you can't help but see, and they just draw the ball. That's Isaac. Now he's been put back into the midfield, and we saw that game last year against Carlton. He went in at the SCG against Cripps and had a really good game. He's trained all pre-season, guaranteed his 6 votes in the Brownlow at this stage. They're just... So Sydney are flying.
What about Collingwood?
But Collingwood, I reckon they're working hard. There's no doubt that the urgency to start with, this might be a clip on the chin that they need. You might be just that much off, because there's a little bit of excitement. You've got a flag, and you work so hard for a flag. Now you've got it. So that urgency maybe has just been a little bit off. And I'm sure, Craig McRae probably doesn't think that. But the reality is it can be a little bit of a drop. Get a couple on the chin early. They're going, oh, geez, we've got to be fair dinkum here. They'll bounce back. So I wouldn't call it a hangover or anything like that, but maybe just off a little bit.
I reckon, defensively they've just been off. They haven't been as committed as what they have been in the past, and no fault of their own. They've probably played 2 teams that could play off in the grand final. They're as good 2 teams that you're going to face in the first 2 weeks. I think it could be a battle of the bridge in the grand final.
That would be
it
interesting.
Could be. They're both...
Would be very interesting.
What did I hear someone say? A scalper's nightmare, was it?
Yeah, no, that was...
Someone said
I think that was Sam Pang. Sam Pang said that, yeah.
That's right. That was very good, I thought.
What was I going to say?
Not that we're into that sort of thing.
Now, so you think Collingwood will bounce back against St Kilda on Friday night?
Yes. St Kilda were pretty good the other night, but I wouldn't be putting my house on them to win the game.
You shouldn't be putting your house on anything. You should be doing it very responsibly.
I'm barracking for the story.
Yeah.
St Kilda to win. And
it would make next Thursday week in Brisbane far more interesting.
Massive Easter Thursday.
If you want to think more about who's going to win and who's going to lose and finding winners, there's no better place than when Ryan jumps in the studio with Rocky to do a bit of the Snapshot, and it's on right now.
All the betting trends you need to know from the world of footy. This is the Snapshot.
Rocky, mate, we're back for another week. 9 games of footy to reflect on from the weekend just gone, and some pretty big upsets and some big ones coming up this weekend as well. That time of year where we get lots of knee-jerk reactions, a lot of overreactions, and that's been reflected in the premiership market already. The Pies have drifted all the way out to $8, so a lot of value there for the punters if they want to jump on, if you can think the Pies are going to turn things around. Sydney into $6.50, but I'm most keen to talk about the big sound coming from the west of the ground, the Giants, $5.50 into favouritism with the Neds bookies. Look, Jesse Hogan coming off another monster weekend. Last Saturday against North, he's leading the Coleman charge now with 10 goals. To me, he's always been that kind of forward he's a good forward, but he's not in that elite tier of guys, mainly due to the injuries that he's had. But look, the bookies think he's a genuine chance in the Coleman this year, into $8 now, only behind Kerno and Nick Larkey. 2 games in, mate, only a small sample size, but do you think that this is the year for Hogs to maybe be a serious chance for the Coleman?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they're going to win a lot of games of footy. He's the main man down there, and he's always had the talent. He's always been a high draft pick. He's obviously had his issues away from footy, also on the field through injuries, etc. like that. So he seems to be in a really happy place up there at the moment. Giants are going really well. They probably deserve to be favourite after the first couple of games. We know what they did to Collingwood. It's hard to get a gauge on North Melbourne. They're going to struggle throughout the season. They dominated that game. The issue for Hogan is when Toby Green starts to start impacting the scoreboard, etc. like that, and the other guys around that. But the both teams in Sydney, we could have a Sydney grand final. I mean, the Swans, for me, are as good as anyone in the competition at the moment. We always thought they were going to get there. They probably had a down year last year, played in a grand final before their time. So they've been there before. They never really had that drop away. So both Sydney clubs would be really excited where they're at.
It feels very real, doesn't it, for both Sydney teams? It's only been 2 games. It feels like these 2 sides are going to be there the entire year. For me, I think Hogan... The part of his game that isn't spoken about enough is his contested marking ability. He's a very good contested mark, but you've sort of stolen my notes already about the amount of talent that's in the Giants forward line. Josh Kelly's there, Toby Green can kick goals, Riccardi, Callum Brown's a name we've really got to watch this year as well. So the Giants have the bye this week. Then they come back up to the Gold Coast where they play the Suns in what could be a game between 2 undefeated sides. So as you already touched on, a lot to like there about what's happening for both clubs in Sydney. Look, Fremantle, big win against your Brisbane Lions in the final game on Sunday last week. First of all, is it flag mantle time?
Absolutely not. I think they'll struggle this year, but they were impressive. I mean, Brisbane jumped them in the first 10 minutes. Looked like Brisbane by how far. A bit the same the week before with Brisbane. They were half-time by how far against Carlton, and then they stopped. So there's some concerning things there for Brisbane, so let's park that. But what Fremantle were able to do, particularly through their midfield, they've still got Darcy, obviously, to come back at a later date, but Luke Jackson was really good throughout that game. Their ground level players, Brayshaw, etc. I know you want to talk about Sarong. He was outstanding.
Yeah.
He was absolutely everywhere. He does it defensively. His work rate to get back to help defensively and then bring the footy out is exceptional and one of the best in the competition. So I think that they may be better than what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be down the bottom half and Longmuir would be in a bit of strife, but going off the first game, they were quite impressive.
It felt like Jackson and Sarong in particular had the ball on a string for most of that game against Brisbane, and the Lions didn't have a lot of answers. We'll talk about the Lions at another time, as you said, but it feels like we just don't talk about Caleb Sarong enough. Do you think if he played in Melbourne, he's absolutely getting the credit as a top 5 midfielder?
Oh, maybe not top 5, but he'd be certainly talked about a lot more. What he does over there in the West, and even through the struggling times and battling the last couple of years, he always found the footy and worked hard. And there's a guy at West Coast that everyone talks about over in Perth, Harley Reid. He's 1 game in, but Sarong should be on the back page a little bit more than what he is. I think he just flies under the radar. His size probably does that to him a little bit, but he's tough. He's hard. He's everything you want from an inside midfielder midfielder. It complements them. It allows Fife to obviously play in different positions. We've seen him play a bit more through the midfield. But what Sarong does around the footy, he's really, really classy inside midfielder.
I think his toughness is a very underrated part of his game, because if you look back at the stats from Sunday, Fremantle 67 tackles to Brisbane's 55. So that's where the game was basically won. Sarong's into $17 now for the Brownlow, so he's ahead of Brayshaw, which I think is a pretty significant storyline, because we always think of Brayshaw as a guy that's going to get the votes, but it seems like that's going to change. And a strong midfield for the Dockers is going to prove key with some big injuries down back now. Brennan Cox, Oscar McDonald, and a couple more. So look, Fremantle have North Melbourne on Saturday, I believe, under the roof at Marvel. And look, we saw what GWS were able to do to North last week. So I think Sarong 30-plus disposals is a bet we can both be on board with.
Yeah, I think so. Unless they send someone to him to shut him down, which Clarko, I think, has it in his repertoire to do. If he thinks someone's getting off the chain, he likes to send people to watch. But the only thing with doing that is then you free up Brayshaw, Fife, these guys. Yep. So, I think you could nearly lock him in for 30-plus.
The other award I want to quickly talk about is the Rising Star. It's going to be a fluctuating kind of market. A name that the Neds bookies didn't actually have in the market up until Sunday, basically, was Ollie Dempsey, Geelong's emerging star forward. He's come in at $26 in the Neds market to win the Rising Star. Probably one of the biggest kind of feel-good stories to come out of the weekend. 3 goals, 15 touches, 7 marks. He's only 22. Kicked the first goal of the year for the Cats. Is there a chance that this is a sustainable run for him? Is he going to be a serious chance in the Rising Star, do you think?
Well, it's funny, isn't it, that a Rising Star at his age, it used to be
Third
sort of a first or second year. So, he was outstanding, obviously, to be able to impact the scoreboard the way he did in a tight affair, to be able to get off the chain and kick 3. I don't think he'll be able to sustain it week in, week out. It's generally those guys around the footy that win these awards. They grab attention, etc. like that. But an outstanding what he was able to do on Saturday night. Whether he can sustain it for the full season, time will tell. They've obviously got a potent forward line as well. They've got a few guys missing. So will he be able to continue to do that when everyone comes back into that forward mix? I'm not convinced.
It was an encouraging sign, though, I think, for Cats fans, because they do need an emerging forward with the age of their list. And I think it was good to see him take the game on. He looked very confident, made some really good decisions with the ball, getting it inside 50. I don't know about the Cats, though, on the back of that game. I know I've heard a lot of people say that Geelong were good and they're going to improve, but to me, St Kilda lost that game. I thought St Kilda was the better side on the night. Do you agree with me there?
Yeah, I think so. Like what Geelong used to be able to do at that venue, they used to blow teams away. And if St Kilda probably should have won that game, I know Dangerfield stood up late, kicks that long goal. But
is he the guy you want kicking a long goal?
Yeah, well, I think so. Like he backs himself in. He's got the confidence to go back and do it. He's probably better from there than 15, 20 metres out. You'd be a bit more nervous, I think, if he was a bit closer to goal. He generally nails those long footies. So, I mean, if the footy's not in Cameron's hands, you'd probably take Dangerfield from there.
No, I do agree with that. Cats have a big one on Friday night down in Adelaide against the Crows, who need to lift after 3/4 of embarrassment against the Gold Coast Suns. The last important question I want to ask you, though, have you ever thrown away a bloke's shoe like Brian Myers did?
I think I might have back in the day, or just like thrown it over the sideline. I don't have any issue with it. If the guy drops it like right in his sort of standing space where he's going to be, I've got no issue. If you had thrown it probably the other way over the boundary line, would have been a smarter option, because
just into the 6th row.
Well, yeah, the footy can transition into the corridor, so the player can go and pick it up. If you put it over the fence or near the boundary line, then he's out of play. So you've got a 17v18 advantage on the ground. Yeah,
it was definitely a hazard. I was on Myers' side.
Ryan and Rocky are cooking up another multi. Surely it gets up this week.
Speaking of hazards, our multi last week, I got us off to an absolute stinker. Shea Bolton, 2+ goals, no good. You came good, though, with Goulden, 25+ disposals. GWS the cover. Talk us through that one.
Well, that was home the whole way through almost. Like they North Melbourne were only in the game because they were kicking so straight, and had the Giants kicked a little bit straight, we'd probably win that. But there was about 2 minutes to go, and we're home. We're covered the line at 45 points.
Yeah.
North Melbourne kick a goal and get it to 39, and then shut up shop, the Giants, and we missed by 5 points.
Yeah, sneaky backdoor cover there. Would have helped if Hogan had a chance to kick his 7th. But anyway, alas, we did get Melbourne home head-to-head on Saturday afternoon. Sunday afternoon, I should say.
Yeah.
So we went 2 from 4 last week. We're going to reduce it a little bit this week and just have 3 legs. We've got a nice little $6 multi. Tommy, who have you got in Hawthorn versus Melbourne?
Well, Hawthorn versus Melbourne, I think Sicily's week will stand. We're obviously recording Tuesday morning. Tribunal will be later tonight. But I would imagine that Sicily doesn't get up. You can't get off a kicking charge, even though there wasn't a great deal in it. You can't be seen to be kicking.
Yeah. Given his record, too, he's going to pay the price.
Yeah, that's right. So I think Ben Brown to kick 2+ in that game. I don't think they'll have the defence to be able to stop him. I think Ben Brown is almost a lock for 2 goals at $2. I think is good value.
Yeah, very good price. I'm backing against my Hawks. I'm going to take Melbourne to cover. I thought Hawthorn did some nice things last week, but they were smashed around the stoppages, and Essendon just matched them goal for goal. And they seem to just run out of legs when it gets to the fourth quarter. We saw that in the preseason, translated into round 1. So I think the D's are going to prove too good there at the MCG. We're going to wrap it up with the Sydney Swans 1-39 against the Bombers. Again, I thought Essendon did a lot right. There's been a lot of talk about Archie Perkins. Guelphy was outstanding last week. But the Swans at home, they're flying right now, and I just can't see them losing that game.
You don't think they'll win by more?
That's the danger. I have a feeling these two sides played quite close last year, so that's my thinking there.
Yep.
I'm happy to go 1-39 rather than the line. But
right.
To recap, we've got Ben Brown 2+ goals, Melbourne to cover against Hawthorn in the same game, Sydney 1-39, $6.04. You like it?
Yeah, that's juicy. And we're alive on Saturday, which is the most important thing.
That's it. Yeah, it gives the punters some hope. All right, listeners, you can find that multi on the Neds app. Thank you, Tom, for joining us again, mate.
No, thank you, Ryan. Very good insight.
You're listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions.
Song for the Tassie Devils, Better the Devil You Know by Kylie Minogue. What do you reckon? That would go off after a win, Lynchy?
Yeah, it would. That's it. Run out onto the ground.
Bit of Kylie, iconic Australian artist.
Yeah, well, she first sung in front of, it was at the Fitzroy Football Club Players Review.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they got the at Dallas Brooks Hall.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was just before my time.
Yeah.
It was just before I got there. So they had a bunch of the actors and actresses from Neighbours came and supported with some songs and that sort of stuff. You know, players get up there and sing rubbish. And they got a few of the actors to sort of sing. And they suggested to Kylie, you should sing. And she said, I don't know any songs. She said, well, they said, well, what's your favourite song? And she said, well, Locomotion. We'll sing that.
And then, lo and behold,
that's
Fitzroy created.
That's legend says.
Of course,
legend says that's what happened.
Yeah. So Fitzroy gave you and Kylie their start.
Yes, absolutely.
You're in great company.
And we should both go to Tassie.
But of course,
both gone up to stardom.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know,
Same level.
I think so.
No, absolutely.
I think so. But I mean, when you think about it, the Tasmania Devils are here. Lynchy is, of course, on the board of the Tassie Football Club. He's a Tassie legend, so we are going to devote this segment. I'm just calling it the Devils. What are we calling it? The Devil's Advocate.
Yes. Devil's Advocate. Yeah, very nice.
But speaking of theme songs, there's so many great Devil songs you could use. I was just having a look. I mean, obviously you've got Kylie, Better the Devil You Know. The Devil Went Down to Georgia, just for a bit more up your alley there. Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. Now, I know you were able to get Warner Brothers over the line, but Gee, royalties from the Rolling Stones. I'm not sure about that. And, of course, you could even get In Excess. Bugger Port Adelaide. You can use Devil Inside by In Excess.
All right, we'll try that.
Or Devil Woman by Cliff Richard. That's more from your personal collection. Though.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I think some good options there, so we'll look at those.
And your on-field apparel sponsor is going to be Prada. The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh,
yeah,
nice,
thanks.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
So I could do can I have the marketing job at your club? I think I've got this sorted.
Well, there's a couple up for grabs now. You can put your application in.
Might get you as a reference.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That mightn't work.
So take us through it. Yesterday, as I mentioned earlier, we're recording this on a Tuesday morning. So yesterday, in Tasmania, in Devonport, it was announced, and Launceston, I think at the same time, it was announced that the club would be the Tasmania Devils. They would wear the myrtle green, Clarice yellow, and the rose red. Is that it?
Primrose.
Primrose red. Primrose red.
Come on, mate.
Oh, we'll get used to these colours.
Yeah.
And you're going to wear the traditional Tassie state jumper. Take us through the process, what it means. Just give us all the feels about the Tassie Devils right now.
Well, I think from the very outset of when the board was formed post the May announcement of the provisional licence last year, I think everyone was very conscious that we wanted to make this about the whole state and the community and make sure that everyone felt engaged in the process and everything that we do. And so the launches last night were at 6 sites at the same time. So Oatlands, St Helens, Queenstown, Devonport, Launceston, and Hobart.
Hobart, that's a major part. It's a little town in Tasmania, Hobart. Right.
Those launches all went at the same time, and it was to make sure that communities, local football clubs felt a part of it. And so the surveys came out via community engagement and with the past players and legends about what they wanted. And the overwhelming support was for the Tassie jumper. It was a given. They wanted the colours, and those colours were signed off by the Tasmanian Football League in 1906, I think it was.
Yep.
I was at the meeting. So the colours were a given. The Devils was a given. Everyone wanted, and I thought Richmond might arc up if we go to Tasmanian Tigers, so we sort of just stuck with the Devils.
Damn straight.
And then there was around the jumper, there was a lot of discussion, but still overwhelming support for that as our heritage jumper.
So just to clarify with the Tassie state jumper, that is your heritage jumper. That is not the jumper that Tasmania will wear at home games.
At this stage, yes.
So that's your home jumper.
Yeah, no, that's our home. I said the wrong term then. But
so that's a jumper you wear at home.
Yeah.
But obviously, knowing how, especially these days, football club jumpers are, and you wear like 6 different jumpers a year with different things. There'll be different variations.
Absolutely. There'll be
versions.
There'll be away jumpers. There'll be Indigenous jumpers. There'll be all sorts of themed jumpers. But that is our historical jumper of the football club, and built on 150 years of history.
Now, for the benefit of the camera here, this is the front page of today's Hobart Mercury, and that is, of course, the Tassie Devils logo.
And you do know that the North West Coast newspaper is the Advocate.
What did I say? The Mercury?
That's the southern one.
Oh, okay.
But when you go in the Devil's Advocate being the theme.
Devil's Advocate.
So there is a Northwest Coast Advocate.
So that's the Bogues paper, and this is the Cascade paper.
Yes. Well, it gets a bit complex, but yes, basically.
That's how we divide Tasmania. So that's the logo there. We might actually be the first ones to get a cease and desist about the Tassie logo in history. Right. But here it is here.
I'll be the first one to get a kick in the bum for actually letting you put it up. It'll be fine.
Anyway, so this is it here. It is fantastic, the logo. I really like it.
Pleased you liked it.
What was
the response throughout not only Tasmania but Australia-wide's been incredible in the first 24 hours.
Yeah, it has been incredible. Like there's probably the support for the logo has been very good, and it's an artistic adaptation of the devil.
Yeah.
So it's got longer hair than the normal devil, but it's a character, and we're very pleased with the outcome to launch with that, and then hearing the response. There's been some talk around the jumper, but the jumper is in recognition of the history of Tasmanian football, and there will be variations of it, but there's been some discussion about that. But I think that was the best option to go with.
It's interesting, that discussion around that, because they say, "Oh, leave that for state games," but there's not really state games anymore. Not
Not
like
as
they
many.
used to
No,
be.
no.
Not like when it was big, when it was Victoria versus South Australia versus Tasmania, etc. So I think it's great because it incorporates the whole state to get behind something.
And that's the major thing. Everything that we do and everything we come back to is this is a state team or state teams, men's and women's. It's not a Hobart football club. No. Thus, the community engagement events all around the state and the 6 launches at the same time. So, and the map sort of is all encompassing to reinforce that it is a state team. So, and there was an argument about, no, this is for Tasmanians to play state games, but there's an enormous amount of people that are born interstate and have represented Tasmania as well, and this will be the case moving forward.
But for it to be successful in Tasmania as well, because everyone in Tasmania, I imagine, has a team that they support anyway.
Yes.
So you're going to have to try and win them over as best you can. Yes, they can probably follow both to a degree, but if you can sell them on the Tasmania and the whole state, then it's an easy win for me. From the outside, I know it might be a bit different.
When they go on sale, they will sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, they will.
Those Tassie jumpers.
So they're like, you're right. So, and that was part of the AFL's decision to go with the expansion clubs of the Gold Coast Suns and GWS to start with, was for a new market.
Yep.
So Tasmania is a mature market. As you said, everyone already supports a team. So our challenge is to convert them. But from what we've seen so far, and within, 14 hours to get to 75,000 members, we're seeing that.
Amazing.
But, I mean, with the likes of, say, a Tasmanian version of you that's passionate at Richmond, I think it will be hard until you actually get there.
Yep.
So you get to a game and you're watching Richmond versus Tasmania. It's where your heart takes you.
Yep.
Now, we're feeling that the heart is taking people to the Tasmanian Football Club in these early stages. So it'll be fascinating to see which way it goes. But the momentum has started well. The engagement's been really good, and we're very happy with the logos.
I think if you're a born and bred Tasmanian and you've wanted this your whole life, but you've supported another club, I wouldn't normally say this. I think you have a leave pass. To change your allegiances.
For a diehard Melbourne man that goes for Richmond, you've bought a membership.
Yeah.
Explain that.
It's out of support for football. It's out of support for this is good for football.
I don't think Richmond will be too happy about that.
I think, well, given that Brendan Gale and Jack Rewalt and Matthew Richardson, here's the back.
Stewart.
Look at the back page of the Herald Sun here. It's bloody Richo holding up a Tasmanian jumper. So,
but you're right. I mean, everyone at Richmond would excuse that because, Richo knows. You know what? Tasmanians are passionate about their state.
Yeah.
Especially when they live there, they are. You know what? Tasmanians are more passionate about their state when they leave, and always crave. So what we're finding is the passion for Tasmanians that have left, whether that be expats that live in London, which you've been hearing so much from over the last few hours, or on the mainland, the passion is there and the support has been incredible. So we're looking forward to what's next, but it's been a good start.
So 75,000 members, all at $10, which is phenomenal.
$10 to $15.
I bought the $15 one because I was feeling a bit generous.
4 stickers if you get.
Yeah, four stickers.
Yeah. I better sign up.
They go on my new car. I think we
it.
should sign Rocky up. You know who else we should sign up as a Tasmanian member is our buttons and cameraman Richard. He doesn't actually have a team.
So South African heritage?
No
heritage.
team.
Same colours.
Same, very similar colours.
Oh, there we go, done.
But they're a bit more Cameroon colours than South African colours, to be honest. But Rich, are you officially going to sign up as a Tasmania FC member?
Yep, I'm in.
That's a yes from Richard.
He's in.
So you've got 75,001. He's the chairman of the Johannesburg Tasmanian Supporters Club.
Yeah.
You've got your first coterie group.
Untapped market.
So,
but good start.
The recruiting, what is the go? It appears that the AFL doesn't want a GWS Gold Coast type build. They want Tassie to be pretty much up there straight away. Is that the plan?
Yeah, and I think that's from the commission and the clubs. they don't want, the one thing the clubs don't want is a drain on their resources. So a struggling club for a 5-year period is not what they want. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sure other clubs want us to win a flag early, but they want the Tasmanian team to come in and be competitive.
Yep.
So that is, the list build is something we're working through now with the AFL. And I've got to say, the AFL have been fantastic in their support and helping us put together a list build plan. So we're going through that at the moment, and hopefully over the next couple of months we'll be able to announce what that is going to look like. And then also the other component is, you think, 28's when the AFLW and AFL teams are going to debut. So what's the best pathway? So it's almost work back from that. How many years in the VFL and VFLW do we need to set things up? When does our training and admin centre get completed so we can get the players involved? So that planning process has been going for a few months now, but we're getting sort of closer over the next probably 3 months to making some announcements there.
Speaking of facilities,
yes,
and there is an election in Tasmania on Saturday. There's still a bit of opposition for the stadium at Macquarie Point, 23,000. I want to play you this clip from Jackie Lambie, Tasmanian senator. Tasmanian royalty. She's probably more Bernie royalty than you.
Well, yes, she's my where I grew up, my federal member.
Tasmania's got more senators than federal lower house MPs. Yeah. Go figure that out. But anyway,
Lynchy's a little bit more classy than Jackie, though.
Hang on.
Let's
Let's hear what Jackie Lambie has to say about the stadium.
Yep.
And then we'll get the retort from Alastair Lynch.
These restrictions on Tasmania. Nobody else, no other state in Tasmania and in Australia has ever been asked to supply a stadium with a roof over it. I mean, this is just absolutely astonishing. If Andrew Dillon wants a touch of what it's like in Tasmania, hey, mate, I'll put you up for a few weeks. Come and have a look in my backyard in Burnie on the northwest coast, and then you might get a bloody reality check, mate, because we can't afford it in Tasmania. And that's it, end of story. We'd love one, I can tell you. But I tell you, we're not as rich as they are in Western Australia. We don't have all that resources money coming into us, all that sort of stuff. And we have so many issues going on in Tasmania where they have to be prioritised over a stadium. And it's as simple as that.
Your retort, the member for the Tassie Devils, Alastair Lynch.
Well, I do, and sincerely, I do love Jackie's passion about it, because there are a number of key issues in Tasmania, but I know where she's coming from. But we see this, and I think too many people see sporting clubs and AFL sporting clubs as just facilitating AFLW and AFL men's teams. Rocky, as you are very aware, and your club, Dylan, Richmond, do this very well. And actually, your club, Port Adelaide, do it extremely well as well. The community work that clubs put in, these are $100 million businesses that do a lot for the community as well. So I see the significant, the huge investment in the stadium as an investment, not a cost. Like it is. Too many people are seeing it as a cost at the moment. This will be a multi-purpose stadium for enormous amount of events that I think can really help the economy of Tasmania to then address a lot of the things that Jackie is passionate about, and quite rightly, and especially where Jackie is. Chronic disease in the population up there is probably as bad as there is around the country. So that is an issue. I see this as another opportunity to grow the economy so we can support the health sectors and public housing. So I get it. I'm looking forward to meeting with Jackie at some stage to discuss these things. And also, if she wants to play in the midfield, she can play in the midfield. I reckon she'd be really good in the midfield.
Do you want to get her on the coaching staff to give the boys a spray? She would. I would want to
hard as a cat's head. But it's a great point you make about investment, because you think about the economy, and she talks about the resources that WA and the investment that they get. But by having a stadium and by having that in Tasmania, you may see businesses invest more money down there. I mean, GFG, who's a major sponsor of Port Adelaide, they've got a factory in Tasmania.
Yeah, so that's at Beauty Point.
Yeah.
Down there in Launceston.
So you may see more investment from international companies as well. I know Port Adelaide, their biggest thing to go and play in China was the investment that the South Australian government got from that.
Are you telling me Port Adelaide's venture to China was a trade junket
Well,
It was.
It was a valuable,
Yeah,
valuable.
it was an investment. It was
valuable
No, I mean
investment.
that's where Port got bang for buck from.
No, and that's what I mean. So, like, you can't see this as a negative to build an amazing world-class stadium down in Tasmania. You have to see it as an investment, as Lynchy said, and you may get benefits from other investments, not just the stadium and being able to have different events there. Actually, investments from companies around Australia and internationally.
And you're not just building a ground to host football 8 times a year. You're building something that's year-round, has a purpose.
And the local league will use it for their grand finals and everything.
So there's a lot of things that the venue would be used for. But, yeah, the economy, you think if it is a 23,000-seat stadium, you realistically, for the bigger teams especially, you're going to have 5,000 coming over from Melbourne. Whether they land in Devonport on the boat and drive down or fly in directly, you top and tail it with a couple of days either side. Beautiful. It is a huge money spinner for the economy.
The pubs are full.
And then I think also when we're looking at my region as well, and Jackie knows this area much better than I, so I'm not certainly going to debate her on that sort of stuff. But with community engagement, youth activities, like getting youth into sport. And so we've got to actually get sport up and going more in schools and in the regional clubs so that they are not just a sport networks for health, but also that mentorship that we all know and all experienced.
And just to go a step back, what you were saying about filling up the pubs and the tourism attraction of playing in Hobart, I think, speaking as someone who's done away trips as a fan before, everyone wants to go to Adelaide now because of Adelaide Oval. Yeah, Adelaide Oval is the best away trip in football. It certainly wasn't when they were playing at Football Park. No. And that's the kind of effect it will have on Hobart. Hobart's awesome. So to have a decent footy ground and right in the heart of the city with
a lot of what it'll do as well, and there's some great golf courses down there, and people will go watch
race tracks and fantastic, and
then go
racing,
and like it's a massive win. Just ticks nearly every box.
And also, just to continue on. It's actually so exciting for Tasmanian sport at the moment because not only have the Devils been launched, but the Jack Jumpers are playing their second game in the NBL Grand Final Series this weekend. And I know that the Jack Jumpers coach got right up the Melbourne United coach for just calling them a little island this week. So, and of course the Sheffield Shield.
Love his passion.
And the Sheffield Shield final.
Taking on Western Australia, so that's good.
It's incredibly exciting, but I just can't see the Devils winning a game for at least 4 years, Lynch. I can't see it.
They will.
No, I'm not happy, mate. And I've been a member since day one, so I'm outraged. And look, as a Richmond member, there's something you've got to do when you're angry with your club. When you're not happy with how your club's going.
Have you got a microwave?
I've got
a truckload of
truckload.
Shit. We haven't got a microwave in the studio, and I was thinking about dropping off some manure outside North Hobart Oval.
Yeah.
But let me be the first Tassie Devils member in history to do this. There you go. That is the historical first ripping of a Tasmanian membership. I want a spill of the board. I want Lynch out. I want the coach. We haven't even the coach sacked. It's all to go.
So what number membership were you actually? Just so I can take note. We might look at that. Rightio.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
No,
fair
I'm
enough,
out. It had to be done.
I'm confident we'll win.
Would you rather me be the first person to rip up a Tassie membership, or someone to call up Finey in 5 years' time complaining?
If we're featuring,
do you want me to ring Finey now?
If we're featuring on Finey's show, how good! So can't wait.
That's when you know Tassie's made it. They've lost a big game on a Friday night, and
someone cares.
And Harry from Hobart rings in and goes, "G'day, Finey. I just lost faith in the club, mate." Yeah. Or you know what the other sign is? All us people that have signed up as goodwill members are going to be like, stuff these Tassie bastards. Like, they've just had it. You want to be you don't want the goodwill anymore. When you've lost the goodwill in a way that people just want you to
going well.
That
that's what you want.
Well.
You start. You get the honeymoon period where everyone's second team.
Nice.
It'll be good to see them. Then get to a stage where all right, we've had enough of that.
Yeah,
hopefully we get to that stage.
It took the Swans a while. I reckon the Swans used to be that, and then they got Buddy, and everyone's like, nah.
I think the Brisbane Lions. I think it was everyone's second team for the first couple of grand finals.
And then you started winning flags, and that was it. So
even started barracking for Port Adelaide after that. We were on the nose.
Well, it is incredibly exciting. And you've got Rich. You've got another member in Rich. I reckon by the time some people are listening to this podcast, the Tassie Devils may have more members than Richmond and Collingwood. We need, 15,000, 25,000 more members?
25,000 as of probably an hour ago, so early Tuesday.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Tuesday
Tuesday morning. Yeah.
Yep.
By the weekend, there'll be over 100.
Amazing.
Easy.
Current pace, maybe, but it's a significant start, and the plan to get the community engaged, and that's the expat community as well, and the football community has certainly got off to a really good start. So congratulations to everyone on the board outside of me, because this is not really my space, but there's been enormous amount of effort put in.
We should clarify that Neds is not a sponsor of the Tasmania Football Club, but we're just talking as footy fans. We're incredibly excited. If you haven't yet already, you can join on the website. It is membership.tasmaniafc.com, only $10. And you can be part of it. You
can. And talking about the memberships and support, and Jackie's point about we can't afford it, just to start with the calls that we've got from tier one sponsors, like serious sponsors that are sponsoring other clubs at the moment, wanting to get involved and wanting to get involved now. But so, sure, hang on, we haven't got any teams at the moment.
As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Cascade or Bogues. What's going to happen there? That is going to be the big one, the beer sponsor in Tasmania.
Yeah, we'll address that when we need to.
That's going to lead to civil war. You understand that?
Maybe it is just when you're celebrating that first premiership way down the track is both brands. Maybe.
You say you're going to unite Cascade and Bogues.
We can unite the state.
National Pies?
The state.
They might.
National Pies. They were served at the launches.
One on the home jumper and one on the away jumper.
Or maybe when they play in Launceston, they're sponsored by Bogues. And when they play in...
Anything could happen. No, well done, Lynchy.
Very
inclusive.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Well done.
No,
congratulations. And in the words of David Putty in Seinfeld, we're the Devils. The Devils!
We're number one. We beat anybody. We're the Devils! The Devils!
Time to wrap up here on Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions, also known as the Tassie Devils Variety Hour this week. Round 2. I was about to say round 3. It's round 2 of the AFL, as I ask every single week at the end of the show. What are we looking forward to, gentlemen?
I'm looking forward to Friday night, the Adelaide Crows versus Geelong, believe it or not.
I think that'd be a fascinating encounter.
Adelaide was as disappointing as anyone in the first half last week. I had high expectations for them. They haven't won on the road much last year, probably cost them a final spot. I thought they would have been ready to go round 1, and they were terrible for the first 2.5 quarters, and then came good. And
weren't they? They were so underwhelming. It was like their intensity, they just were still in practice match mode.
It was shocking, wasn't it? And then Geelong, obviously, they weren't impressive on Saturday night either.
Bit of home cooking got them over the line in that one.
So it'll be a good. Both of these, they're going to be competing for that sort of 6 to 6, 7, 8 spot. So a win for either team will be good.
I just think the Crows have also got to win away this year. I think the Crows at Adelaide Oval are a safe bet this year. But
so now it's 7 games under 6 points in the last 12 months. I mean, you're killing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Lynchy? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, there's hosting again. Beautiful.
He's off drifting on the laptop.
I'm looking forward to...
I'd like to just share my role. I play my role team.
So week 3 being Gold Coast Suns having to go up your way. So where are they?
Ballarat.
Going up the Ballarat.
They can win that.
They can, and they should win it. So where's the maturity of this club? I think they're showing some great signs. They've had 2 drop-offs. There was a drop-off against Richmond. There was a drop-off against Adelaide.
Yep.
So like we were talking about with Brisbane's concerns, they can get a couple put on their chin. Yep. So this is a big test because it's a huge test for the Bulldogs, who've got more talent than they're showing on the field at the moment. And so this is a massive game, I reckon, in the evolution of the Gold Coast Suns.
And you can't bet because you're on a board, but $2.45, Dylan, for Gold Coast to go down there and beat.
Out in Ballarat.
Because the Dogs weren't very good on Sunday afternoon.
Gold Coast, if the Gold Coast can win anywhere, even Mars, then that's always fun to say. Then they certainly mean business. Look, I've got 2 random games that I think are actually intriguing this weekend. I think North Melbourne and Fremantle on Saturday afternoon at Marvels. Very interesting. North did not disgrace themselves at all last week against the Giants. I know Clarko's all about North Ball, and it actually is an attractive style of play, and they're playing at Marvel, and Fremantle in Melbourne's always a bit iffy.
And their injuries, Fremantle,
Yep.
they were good, but they'll be counting the costs of them.
So the Kangas at $2.80 is intriguing, and if I do say so myself, and I will say this, I think Richmond Port Adelaide could be very interesting as well. For a team that's back to an era of having honourable losses, and that's where Richmond is at now. They did not disgrace themselves at all on Thursday night against Carlton. They've had a decent rest. They're at the MCG. I'm still not too sure about Port because I think West Coast is still about the same as they were last year. So it'd be very interesting to see how the Tigers match up against Port Adelaide. Just having a look at the line, 12.5 line. Richmond could very much cover it. They can put up a fight, especially with it being at the MCG. So
You mightn't be sure about Port.
Yeah.
I'm sure about Rosie and Butters, though.
They're pretty good.
They're good players, aren't
They're
they?
very good.
If they had a
and
kick
Butters.
straight
How'd
against
they
West
squeeze
Coast.
you out of that team?
I know. It was incredible, wasn't it? But,
I just think
These are good players.
Their system stacks up at the moment, Port Adelaide. I know they played West Coast, but they went inside 50, 53 or 57 times for 40 scoring shots. So
I'm just saying it's more about their opponents, not Port Adelaide.
Oh, I know. You speak about Richmond every week and it gets very...
So they had 25 marks inside 50, Port Adelaide did.
Yeah.
I mean, clubs are what, averaging 13, 14 or something like that?
25.
25?
Yeah.
Against West Coast.
I don't think Richmond will go with them.
I think it'd be an interesting match. I don't think it'll be as one-sided.
Shea Bolton.
Shea Bolton.
He's been a bit quiet.
What's doing?
Yeah, well, you'd know about that after last week, would you? Speaking of which,
Yes,
Shea Bolton could be the best player in the competition if he felt like it. That's just unfortunately.
Yeah.
He can be a bit hit and miss. Okay, we're about to wrap up here on Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions, but if we can recap the multi that is available on the Neds group that both Tom and Ryan put together.
Yeah, we went through it a bit earlier, but we want to be alive on Saturday instead of being out on Thursday night. So we've got a almost the same game multi in the Hawthorn versus Melbourne. Melbourne at the line, minus 25.5 against Hawthorn. We think they'll get the job done quite easily. We're not sure of Sicily's outcome yet at the tribunal. We think he will miss. And Ben Brown to kick 2 or more goals because I think, Sicily won't be there and they'll be stretched in defence. And then we shoot off to Sydney versus Essendon, 1-39 for the Swans to win that at $6.04 on the Neds punting that.
Yes, and of course that's in the Neds Open group as well. All right, we're about to wrap up for another week here on Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions. If you do like the show, make sure you like and subscribe. And of course, we're now available on the Listener app. I've had the stats in from Listener, Tom, the amount of people that could do bloody Dead Set Legend South Australia and Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions on their subscriptions.
They're flipping over.
They're just, it's just ticking along.
Just type in Tom Rockliff in the Listener app and just
You're trending on the Listener app. It's like you're ahead of Hamish and Andy and
sure I am. Yeah, I'm sure I would.
They want Rocky and Lynchy.
Oh yeah, I'm a big social media presence.
Yeah, no, but before I let you go, which club do you love the most, the Lions or the Tassie Devils?
That's ridiculous.
The Devils.
Well, we're both.
Both.
So you're monogamous.
We're both. I'm just rich history with Tasmania, passionate supporter of the Brisbane Lions.
See those splinters from your fence sitting there. All right, this has been Ned's
Tassie Devils.
Tassie Devils is Lynchy's first love. You heard it here first. He loves the Devils more than the Lions. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.